Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Ross with Capital City Arts Initiative. CCAI is the visual arts organization based here in Carson City. We do exhibitions in 4 city venues, including here at Western Nevada College in the Bristlecone Gallery. We now have paintings by Ahren Hertel, an exhibition titled Mimic, and we've invited Ahren to discuss his work and give us a tour of his show. So my first question, Ahren is here with us. Are your portraits always of individuals?
They have been, yeah. I haven't really done any groupings of anybody yet. Not sure why necessarily. I don't have much of a reason that I haven't yet, but so far the most recent series have been of individuals and then also in a certain landscape, and then connecting that person to the landscape in the painting.
Let's go in the gallery and see the rest of the work, Ahren. The landscapes seem to be having a strong element of abstraction in them. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't, and I think part of that was just an interest in it. And I think my taste in art is pretty broad, and I think oftentimes doing more representational or realist work, I was really drawn to more abstract artists. I think because it was something that I wasn't doing. So I did start playing around with it a little bit, and I think, again, initially with the first landscapes, I wasn't really that connected to them quite yet. I was kind of trying to figure it out. So I think having a subject matter that I didn't care about too much allowed me to play around with abstraction a little bit more and kind of find my footing in kind of using that language or trying to understand how I want to use that language. And then I think through that, of course, became more and more interested in the landscape and more interested in abstraction. And I think it's still something that I am trying to kind of figure out. I don't know if I consider a lot of it super abstract in the way that I think of other abstract artists' work. And I also wonder if it's, after spending a lot of time like carefully trying to paint illusionistically, the draw towards being more expressive and making marks and loosening up just as a studio practice, as a way of not being hunched over the canvas, was very appealing. So. So I think as I continue to sort of like experiment a little bit with abstraction, in the initial stages of kind of like laying down the paint and creating an underpainting or just blocking colors in, I started thinking about it as it related to camouflage, like camouflage being kind of like abstraction, like really far, at least in my brain, like from realism. Camouflage was this very abstract representation of land. and certainly I think it, you know, it's been used in the military, it's been used for hunting, and I don't think I wasn't really thinking about it in the sense of hiding in the landscape, but actually like a depiction of the landscape. So I don't know, something like the abstraction that starts happening here, the way that it starts breaking down in terms of shape and color and value is what started making me think more about abstraction, or about camouflage in abstraction. So I guess that was a natural progression to start thinking about the uses of camouflage, or how I wanted to use camouflage and its meaning. So for a while I was doing a lot of little camouflage pieces, or in digital art with Procreate and breaking it down, and which led me to working on bringing it into the portraiture and thinking about them kind of wearing camouflage, not to hide in the environment, but to feel closer to it, to sort of wrap themselves in a depiction of the place they're in. And so, like this one is Gold Hill, and so I developed the camouflage pattern based off of some of the shapes and colors and values and groupings that I saw in the landscape at Gold Hill. So all the portraits have sort of corresponding camouflage to the environment they're in. And I was really drawn to that idea of wanting to be closer to the environment that you're in by wearing sort of a depiction of it.
So Ahren, when you select somebody to paint, do you ask them to sit for you? Do you take photographs? Is it a combination? How do you do that?
I usually they come by my studio and I work off of photographs. I think partly asking friends to sit still for you for a very long time is I think I love when other artists do it. I just don't know if I have friends that are that patient, or I'm kind of a slow painter and build through it. So I don't know if that works that well for me, but I did really enjoy life drawing when I was in college, and I think that I think about that experience or drawing from life when I do use photo reference. Often I think taking a photograph is just a moment in time. So the one thing I like is painting people that I'm friends with, because I have a broader understanding of them. And I think that the photograph doesn't always depict that. The photograph just depicts them in that very split second of time. And so I find myself kind of balancing using the photo as reference, and then also tweaking it to where it feels like the person as I kind of remember and understand them, so that there's maybe a little bit more life in it and not just replicating the photograph.
So would you take just one photograph of somebody, or would you do a series?
I usually take a bunch. I use one as my sort of primary source of reference. I might look back at some of the other ones if I'm trying to understand the shape a little bit better. But for the most part, I use that as my kind of jumping off point. And then it's just kind of tweaking it from there. But yeah.
So how many hours does it take?
Oh, I don't know. Some they kind of vary. Some just everything works out at the right time, the right day, I guess. And then other times, like they might just take a little bit longer. I don't think it has anything to do with, I don't know if it like skill, or I think it's just off days. Like some days things just aren't clicking the way that they do. So I usually try to stay in the studio and work things out. But I might just jump to another painting or to a landscape if I'm struggling with the figure right then and there. So it kind of bounce back and forth. But generally, I don't know, they might take about a month to do, but it's not that I'm devoting all my time to that one painting. There's the dry time with oil painting, and getting distracted by another painting, and so they take a little bit of time.
So most of these are oil on canvas?
So there's all of the portrait works right now are oil on panel. So the larger landscapes are oil on canvas. And then there's a variation with some of the smaller landscapes, either oil or acrylic on panel, or the framed landscapes are all acrylic on paper. So that was one of the things with the pandemic starting and kind of splitting my time between teaching online classes from my studio and going into to the university every once in a while, and then also trying to be home more often. And so I set up a little bit of a home studio and kind of said, okay, acrylic painting happens at home, oil painting happens at the studio. I can be messier and have solvents and stuff at the studio, but I wanted to keep home a little bit less smelly, and then also fresh air at the house. And then also we have a dog and a cat, so less of a chance of a cat hair sticking to an acrylic painting than an oil painting. So, yeah.
thank you so much for your time and your generosity. We really appreciate it. This will be up on YouTube, and we want to thank Western Nevada College for its generous sharing the gallery, and all of our funders for their support. It's very important, and we appreciate all the foundations and the public institutions and our members and sponsors. Thank you.